You know what? I have temporarily lost all hope of anything ever getting better for myself personally. I hope it's temporary. It's difficult when you lose hope. Last time I went through a phase like this, I literally didn't leave the house for months. Apart from back then, I did do a part-time job, so I did. Once a week, I left the house for about 7 or 8 hours. Now you see I'm regularly down at CHIP, Ipswich Community Hub, and once a week I volunteer at MAS. I hope I can continue to do that. I've already kind of stopped going to the games night on a Monday night every fortnight in Woodbridge because I don't see the point in it. Do you know what my day basically consists of these days? I, with the excuse of giving my partner some space, will head into town about 11, probably go to CHIP, get a cup of tea, hang about, help out if needed. Pop into the Geek Retreat shop. Today I was making I went into Proctor's, which is a very nice local business in Ipswich that makes handmade meat products and sauces to go with them. So obviously they do sausages and the latest Star McGaff. Well, I said, excuse me, I'm going to have to report you to the authorities. I believe you are holding sausages against their will. And the cafe across the road, which is owned by a friend of mine, they deal with their stuff. So I said the same thing in there, and I got a few laughs. And the only thing that keeps me going when I get as down as this is making other people laugh. That's why I shall hopefully continue to volunteer at MAS, because I make customers laugh. Whether it's putting on a silly curly wig and novelty sunglasses or just a bit of sarcasm or whatever, you know. At the end of the day, the thing is, at the moment, I literally cannot claim 95% of benefits that the UK offers to those in my situation. Because my partner has a good job, they expect her to provide. So no unemployment benefit or whatever you call it, no income support, nothing along those lines. Doctors in this country are actively induced not to sign you off, and I wouldn't be capable of being signed off simply because I'm still capable of volunteer work. That would go against me. When I did Viking reenactment, that would have probably gone against me as well, because I said, well, if he can do that. Go and get a temp job for a while to make some money. Most of the agencies in this town will refuse to give you employment unless you have a valid passport, which I don't. I haven't had a passport in years because I've not had the money to leave this country. Oh, thank you, subscribers, for getting me up to 200 of you, by the way, on a brighter note. And even if I did get a temporary job in a factory, working on a farm, over a decade ago, when I was trying to get temporary work, I was basically told by one agency that although there were spaces, they wouldn't employ me because I wouldn't get along with the rest of the people I'd be working with, because they're mostly Eastern European. And they, like everyone else, because of the way they're treated, they would treat an Englishman badly and wouldn't want to talk or associate with me. And they'd all be speaking in their own language. That's what people are like, I'm afraid. Would also, because I have no real qualifications beyond basic ones, my mental health issues would mean many normal people would find me hard to get on with or deal with. I've experienced that before in employment, which is why I haven't worked full-time in 7 years. Longer than that now, it must be nearly a decade, yeah. Everything someone suggests that there's some barrier or some reason, valid reason, not excuse, that it's just a closed door for me. Further education, I'm already heavily in debt because I tried it. Free courses that people like the Job Centre do, guess what? You actually have to be on benefits to apply for them. They trap you. I'm getting nowhere with any form of diagnosis or help, maybe to claim personal independence payment, because the nurses or whatever have sent me a form when I have specifically stated I cannot deal with forms. Do you know what my everyday life generally consists of? I leave the house about 11, I go down Chip, I wander the streets with no money. I get free cups of tea when I can. I maybe help out in various places where I'm welcome. I walk past the street tramps and homeless people and drug addicts that congregate in the town centre here. And I think I'm only 1 or 2 steps above you. I am literally, if I didn't have my partner and a roof over my head, I would be with them. Probably wouldn't even fit in there. I've had so many suggestions from close friends today because I've been speaking about this on my Facebook account and Instagram, because I have both. But all their suggestions are either things I've already tried and know don't work, or things that I know there is a barrier to. I feel trapped by this modern world. Caged. Like a wounded animal. And I rage against it sometimes. But at the moment I don't even have that. I haven't got the strength left at this point in time to be angry about it. They beat you down to the point where you lose all hope. And a human being cannot live without hope. Nor should they be expected to. And I think a lot of corporations and governments, they want us scared, they want us with no hope, so we obey. I'm not very good at obeying. Unless I have respect for the person who's issuing the orders or in charge, whatever, same thing. I take my partner's advice because I respect her opinion and I respect who she is, and I do love her. Which is why you will not see me taking my own life ever. I'll admit to having something of a death wish complex. I would happily shove a small child out of the way of a speeding car and take the hit, run into a burning house to save someone trapped in there, tackle an armed robber. If only to prove to most of the people out there who view me as some kind of screwed up freak that I'm a decent but flawed man. To go out heroically. Might get me to Valhalla, you never know. Oh, apparently I've had another offer of paid work from someone. We shall look into that when I've done this video. It's probably nothing that I can do. And this is the thing, when you have no hope, quite a lot of the time people will suggest these things and you cannot see them. You're like, well, what's the point? Hell, and if I did manage to get my partner to apply for a passport, I'll run out of filters. I think there's some up there. I think she's worried. When I was in a mood like this, I'd do some darn fool thing like apply to join the Ukrainian Foreign Legion and go run off and die in the Ukraine. Because I've got no military training, so I'd just be viewed as cannon fodder. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, everybody says, don't they? But as far as I'm concerned, to coin a phrase from the late great Terry Pratchett, what if the light at the end of that tunnel is a bloody flamethrower? That's how life appears to me at the moment. Every time a door opens, it just shuts on my foot. Those doors that do open. And I feel like this has been most of my life. I've had many jobs in my life. I was a laboratory assistant. That was my first full-time job. Before that, I worked in a butcher's department in a supermarket when I was a teenager. So I was working, before I left school. I've done warehouse work, 2 stints in computer repair companies in the warehouse. I've driven forklifts for a living numerous times. I've worked in a steel yard, steel stockholders. I have worked as a gardener and groundsman. I've worked in numerous factories, more than I care to mention. I've worked as a hospital cleaner. I have a full driving licence, so there is an idea in future with one of the companies I do volunteer work with, that if they can get funding for a second van, they'll employ me 16 hours part-time a week to drive it, but that's only if they can get the funding for a second van. So there's no guarantee. In the past 3 months, I've had various people offer me part-time work, and then for it to fall through or for them to employ someone else. I just, at the moment, this moment in time, I just don't see things changing. I just feel like I'm at a wit's end. I think I ran out of wit. Well, I've got wit, but brain cells, they're vastly disappearing, mostly due to this. But what else can I do? I keep wanting to get back into reenactment training, solitary obviously, because I have no group at the moment. But even that, I think, why? I don't see any hope of being back in a group at any time. And I'm at the stage where I don't want to put myself out there again, because I'm frightened that the next person who lets me down when it comes to part-time work or something, I'm going to snap at. It's not their fault, it's just that it's happened so many times that anger builds up. I accept that the world isn't fair and doesn't owe me a living, and I have to find my place, but I just never seem to find it. Nothing ever works out for very long. Maybe it's partially my fault, I think. I can be very ornery, stubborn, and difficult to deal with, and I know I can. I can also be very aggressive, passive aggressive. But adult males with post-traumatic stress disorder, which I think I definitely have from a lot of happenings in my life, unresolved post-traumatic stress disorder, I might add. Many of us do end up passive aggressive, low confidence, nice guys, which I think I show various symptoms of being that kind of person. In a way, doing this channel helps with my confidence, because I deal with trolls and that helps. But sometimes I mistake people's good intentions for trolling, and people who are trolling, I mistake them for having good intentions, because my partner the other night, it kind of agreed with my personality analysis. Is like, here's one for the geeks, all right? Star Trek The Next Generation, like a cross between Data and Worf. Because I actually do things like the episode of Star Trek The Next Gen where Data gets a girlfriend. And she brings him a gift, and he gets into the aesthetics of it and all that. And then then she turns around and said, "Oh, you can go back to your painting if you want, Data." And you're like, "Oh, okay." And she said, "No, I didn't actually mean that. I meant, could you pay me some more attention?" And he's like, "Oh, all right." I do things like that. But then again, I get very Klingon when I feel threatened, or someone I want to protect is threatened, or something I want to protect is threatened. I go full force. I know no other way. This hasn't won me a lot of friends. And by the way, regular viewers, since I basically threatened to the next person who dumped a piece of shit furniture outside my property, I threatened that I would put it through their front window. Funnily enough, we've had no furniture dumped. Guess it kind of worked. And I've been here on numerous occasions before. The worst incidence was over nearly 30 years ago now. When I was in a very bad place, in a very toxic relationship, and was taking various illegal substances that were not doing my mental health any good. And I literally went berserk. I fear that state coming back, because I never want to go back to Chelmsford HMP again. Yeah, I've done time on remand. Once, never been back. Does that make me a bad person? To quote from Ghostbusters, I've seen shit that'd turn your hair white. And I've never served in the military. I've seen blood on the streets. I've lost friends and relatives who I care about. That doesn't make other people's problems any different to mine. I realise that. We all have our own trauma tank. As in, not tracked armoured vehicle, but as in septic tank. Holder of liquid. And I feel that mine, for many years now, has been right near the brim, and it springs leaks occasionally and bleeds out into the real world and poisons relationships for me. I'm lucky in that I have a very understanding and patient partner, because she knows this. But there are many people out there who aren't understanding. They don't have to be. I'm not their problem. So, for a lot of these people, for the sake of a quiet life, they will believe what's said about you, because it's not their business, it's not their problem. Hell, what's left of my own family ignore me. My mother is sitting on quite a substantial inheritance from my father, and she simply refuses to help. I think this is the influence of my younger brother, who has always been one of these people who, you get a job, you put your nose to the grindstone, you get on with it. You eat shit every day just to get money, which is totally the opposite view to what I have. I tried that, it didn't work for me. But lately, for these past 5 or 6 months, every time I think I'm getting somewhere, it never happens. It's like there was talk of me doing a sailing course. That never materialised. I don't know why. Maybe there were crossed wires. Because I'd love to learn how to sail. I've had no communication back from the Sutton Hoo Saxon/Viking ship project. And I'm tired of reaching out to people and getting no results. No response. It just feels so pointless. Nothing ever seems to change. My heart can only take a certain amount of break. My soul can only take a certain amount of a battering before it just gives up. at the moment I am at a loss of what to do. I have tried to be so many things in my life. Tried to fit in so many places and been rejected. And I end up feeling, what is the point? Why do I even bother? There is only one person in my life at this moment in time who I trust implicitly, and that's my partner. And that is a heavy burden for her to bear. You know, and then there's the financial burden. You know, I'm a 70s child. I was brought up, the man is the provider. Yes, sure, my mother worked part-time. But the main provider in our household was my father. So in a way, I have taken on his values. And as a man, to sit around and be a drain financially on my partner batters my self-esteem constantly. I should be able to go out and earn a living and provide for her. That may seem like antiquated thinking. But this is how I was raised. I was also raised with another set of antiquated values. You stand your ground when you think something's wrong. And you don't take shit. Apparently this is wrong. When is it wrong to stand your ground and not take shit? It seems to me people these days confuse assertiveness and self-confidence with narcissism. That's a whole other can of worms there, isn't it? We live in... I don't know. I'm just feeling a total impasse at the moment. I don't know what to do. All I have is the raw will to survive. I ain't lost that. It's all that keeps me going. And when I get it back, my anger at modern society, which will never spill over into some stupid, pointless attack on people who it's nothing to do with. If I could, I'd go right to the heart. One of my funeral plans would be to have myself placed in a coffin with a vast amount of explosives and catapulted at the Houses of Parliament the next time they're having a debate on a pay rise. No, but my actual funeral plan. Many of you may have seen my glass Viking ship in a bottle. And I've told my partner that when I go, I want to be cremated, my ashes placed in that bottle with the ship, and for her to hire a boat to take herself out into the North Sea and throw the bottle over the side. Viking funeral, kind of. Well, on that cheery note, because I've droned on for nearly half an hour, I shall... Puppies and kittens.